pharmacy and found that customers are coming in for retail services, what do you do? You are set up for wholesale, but they are coming to ask for retail. What do you do? Then secondly, with the rule of 200 meters apart, how well will be the quality of 200 meters, that's 200 meters spacing, how well will be the quality of exploring the so-called new locations, since you have said some people may need to relocate? Another one, what's your advice on the issue of buying a premise or setting up one? Either buy an existing premise somebody wants to sell, or setting up a new one from the scratch. So what's your take on that? Wholesale with request for retail, 200 meters, how do you get a new location, and then buying versus starting a new one? Then your closing remarks.
Buying an existing one, be careful. Why is the person closing in the first instance? It may be a locational defect. So don't in the past, we believe that where a pharmacy was, you come in there and get some goodwill and just continue to fly. But find out why the person is closing, and also find the level of sales that happened there. If there was a reasonable sale, and you've gone through these parameters we're just mentioning now, and you have to find out who are going to be your customers. Is it closing the place where you have fast traffic and nobody comes in there to buy anything? Or you have very poor people who want you to mix their multivit and paracetamol and chloroquine? So I still want chloroquine anyway, because it's cheaper than the ACTs. And it's still working for some people. He wants chloroquine, 120, paracetamol, one sachet, 15 naira, and the multivit that's mixed for 10, 20 naira. You cannot pay your bills from that. So, if it's a good location, yes, okay, you can gather momentum from the goodwill they had before, and be sure they really had some goodwill, not just that it was just a location. If there were some bad people there who didn't do well, you're going to pay for it too. So a good old location should be good, instead of exploring a fresh one. But do take your time to check both before making a decision. Wholesale, and people are coming in for the retail. Integrity demands that you probably direct them to the nearest retailer who is nearby. But again, if somebody is dying and you have to give or somebody has headache and you know there's a packet of Panadol which is open already, you are using, there may be a temptation to sell. But I think to be compliant with the law, it's important that we restrict ourselves. Okay? So you must have some nearby good retailer who buys from you on a regular basis. Okay? If you think the place is not doing well as wholesale and you may do better as a retailer, then you have an option to change. The last
the 200 meters thing.
200 meters. Yeah. That shouldn't stop anybody. Maybe with time. With time, I'm sure 200 meters may be reviewed. It has come out before. But for now, we can still get... when you get these books on location, when you go to the internet, look at the books on location. Part of what they say, they give you many more options. There are newer places. We all want to be probably at the center of the... Some people may have to be strategic in locating themselves. There are new developments. Lagos State is building one more estate here. There are many estates coming up. These estates are veritable good potential good locations for us to take. So we can move out a little bit and site the pharmacy properly in a place that will take maybe 2 or 3 years to mature. So you get strategic, you anticipate and be patient and allow it to grow. Okay? There are some places that are just coming up, some new areas where the pharmacists are doing more than what we're doing in town. Even in the villages, some of the villages are getting so quickly developed that some patent pharmacies, patent shops there are doing more than what pharmacists are doing in the city. So we have to look around and get the right, make the right decisions.
Okay. All right. So I'll just invite Mrs. George to give her closing statements.
Okay. Just very quickly, the question on sourcing finance.
Yeah.
I went on and on about BOI, but just again, panel 1, 2, 3, tackle those in different parts. But it's always nice to save. You should pay yourself, even now. And if you're going to start any business, you should have a bit of, you should have a stake in it before anybody else can invest in you. So in terms of sourcing finance to start a retail business or any business for that matter, your savings is key. Supplier credit if you can get it. Loans from family and friends. And a good business plan always helps. And there are some businesses that are, imagine if you got a franchise now. I'm imagining, a world-class franchise. Let's say KFC. If you manage to get that franchise, the banks will come to your aid immediately. So a good business plan always helps. If you are convinced, if you can see the money, and the bankers can see the money, then, money always follows a good idea. Wrapping up, in terms of other areas that we could venture into, Sir Onyechi mentioned hospital equipment and also mentioned Claire Omasheye. She's doing big business. I'm talking about multi-million-dollar business in hospital equipment, big time. There is nothing stopping any of us from, entering that space. A lot of traders are in there right now. Why not us? There are two people I know, Remi Adesheun and Mr. Adewale. Both of them are in the dialysis business. It used to be Mr. Adewale for a long time. Remi Adesheun, a great marketer, also went into it. There's a huge market. They're setting up dialysis clinics, etc. There is so much for us to do, frankly speaking. Weight loss program. It's a big deal for everybody. Everybody is battling with their weight. Our BMIs are not optimal. I'm sure you've all heard, ladies, about Cambridge Diet. Is she a pharmacist? The lady who got the franchise? I don't think so. Who's heard about Cambridge Diet? Anybody? Is the lady a pharmacist? It could have been one of you. And it has spread by word of mouth. So, like I said, if we're passionate about retail, download the GPP and become GPP compliant. And keep moving. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Please prepare your minds. We are going into the brainstorming session shortly. Everything you have learned, you need to build a clear plan on how to use it, or else we have all wasted our time. And that's what the brainstorming session will handle. Yes, sir? I want to give you two things to say in addition to that, and then you'll wrap up. I wanted to talk about the experience you need to start a business. Somebody said, how much experience would you need? In wrapping up, you use that as one. And then two, multi-branch, one shop. What's your take? Then give us your closing remarks.
Well, everything revolves around your vision. Let me just wrap up by reacting to what's the issues on the floor. There is a gentleman that was asking about funding a pharmacy. I think what you need most is actually your vision, not the cash. You shouldn't lay so much emphasis. Of course, you need money to get started, but the vision is what's going to drive your passion that will invariably lead you to where you get the money to start. Because if you limit it to cash, you might not get started. And I want to quickly comment on what Mrs. George said about the Indian experience at the FIP. I was at the FIP as well, and I was in that session. I would have loved the pharmacists there. It was reported that they helped the Indian government to implement the TB program. They have TB issues in India. So they were using the community pharmacists as a service point for the TB distribution of the TB drugs. I would have loved them. When we are trying to look for a good image for ourselves, we shouldn't sell ourselves cheap. Like she said, $5 in 6 months. They could have done it free. I would have preferred them, done that service free. Everybody would have known that pharmacists did this rather than taking a peanut. It's still about selling ourselves cheap. Then again, on the issue of buying an existing pharmacy and starting a new one, It depends. Where we are today, just as you've said, about 2 other pharmacies have failed. It depends on your vision. It depends on what you want to go out there to achieve. If you analyze the site and you think you can turn things around, why not? You can buy it. So it's all about vision. Then you ask something. The last one.
Experience. How much experience do you need to start a business? Because the little I know about you, you did not have so much experience when you launched out.
I learned on the job. Okay. I learned on the job. It still boils down to vision and passion. Okay. You can learn a lot of things while on the job. You adjust as you go along. And your vision and your passion will see you through. Okay. Yeah. Then on the issue of one shop, multi-shop, it still boils down to vision. Okay. If you have the vision to duplicate, but the only thing I would warn is that consolidate before you move out, or else while you are out, your back will be loose, and you might lose everything. We have examples are banned. I don't want to start mentioning names. We had people that had 5 branches before. Now they are left with 1, and they actually confessed that, look, those other ones were sick babies, and it was the main one that was funding those sick babies. So when they realized, they pulled back. You must get we all have SOPs, just as Mrs. George has been hammering on since. We all have SOPs, just that maybe it's not so formal. The basic things you do to run your pharmacy is SOP. It might not be as formal as the way she has put it, So once you get those ones right and you are absolutely confident that it is tight, then you can roll out.
Okay.
Just one word. Okay. Just one word about expanding. We had 1 store for 6 years, and then in our 7th year we had 1, and in our 8th year maybe 2 more, and then a bit of rapid growth in the last 1.5 years. And it does come with its challenges. What I learned in India again, they had 1,300 branches over 25 years. It's a cycle of you start with your SOPs, your standards, your internal controls, etc. You expand, you consolidate, you expand, you consolidate, you expand, you consolidate. That's how it works.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, round of applause for the panelists. They have done a very beautiful job. Thank you very much for your time spent.